Ramblations. 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 Ramblations.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
My name is Emu.
My name is Daya.
Yeah, we're Ramblations, baby. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, welcome to Ramblations. Thanks to Jay-Z. We didn't pay for that intro. I think it falls under fair use, so I think we should be fine. But thank you to Jay-Z.
Hove, you taught us how to make money, and we're trying to make some money.
Yeah, dude.
We're not even making money off of this shit. We're just trying to fucking.
He's trying to give us. What is it? What's that line from 444?
$1 million
of advice for $9.99 because it's the price of an album. There you go.
Hell yeah! The lesson has been learned, my friend. We took it. We have accepted your $1 million worth of advice.
But yeah, my name's Daya Singh. I'm a video game programmer.
Yeah, my name's Emilio. My friends and family call me Emu, and I am a video game producer. And we're just two friends talking about life and all this crazy shit that's going around, and putting it all together and showing off to the world the things that we think are awesome.
Yeah, and talking about interesting and awesome things, we were able to nab an interview with a really interesting and awesome street artist from Miami.
Yeah, he is somebody who is really responsible for creating. I feel like the most recent evolution of the city of Miami's image. This man is none other than Atomik. You may have seen him if you've ever gone into Miami or seen pictures of Miami street art in the Wynwood area. He's best known for his character. I just learned about it. In this interview. His name's Obi. Big old orange. You seen an orange with a big old smiley face and a spray can bottle? That's your boy Atomik.
I didn't say this during the interview, but I'm pretty sure it just stands for Orange Bowl because OB.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it has to.
Yeah. But yeah, we hope you enjoy the interview, and if you really like what we are doing here, you should check out our other episodes and check out especially some of the stuff coming down the pipeline in the future.
Yeah, enjoy.
Ramblations.
Thanks for jumping on, man. Good to have you on here. If you wanted to maybe introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, what's up? My name's Adam, also known as Atomik, and I'm recording live from Miami, Florida.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Welcome, man. Welcome. So we have a few questions. You're the first guest actually on this podcast, and excited to have you on here. We wanted to figure out what's your background, man? Like how'd you get started in street art, and how'd you get to the point where you're at?
My background comes from art, from I guess like drawing and painting in grade school, and then I transitioned into doing graffiti in my freshman year of high school, and I did graffiti for about, I'd say, 15 years before doing the street art thing. And that's pretty much my background when it comes to what I'm doing now.
Out of curiosity, Adam, it seems like you separated out graffiti and street art. Like, where does that come from, man?
Well, to me, graffiti is about your name and letter styles and I guess your crew and painting with your friends or whatever. Now, the character that I paint now, a lot of people, I approach it with a graffiti approach.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people say that it's not graffiti, it's street art. So if you ask me the difference between street art and graffiti, I would say that street art is it's kind of like, it's not really about your name or letters or anything of that nature. It's more about just art on the streets, however you want to do it, whether it's stencil or brush or wheat paste or something. It doesn't always have to be done with like a marker or a spray can or bead letters. I believe that graffiti is name based and letter based, and there's all these like not rules, but just like I don't know what you would want to call them, almost like commandments, like graffiti commandments that people follow, and it's different. To me, it's very different. And the people are different. The art that goes out there is different, and there's a big difference between graffiti and street art.
It's funny, man. It's like the 10 crack commandments of Biggie, but for graffiti. What would you say are the commandments of graffiti?
Yeah, there's a bunch of rules. When I like school someone or try to teach someone the ways of like doing graffiti, you start off with like your tag, your signature, then you develop a throw up or bubble letters, or you work on straight letters, and there's even block letters. There's like piecing, which is more like stylized letters, and arrows, and there's wild style. You could barely read it, but there is letters in there somewhere. And there's also like rules to it where it's like, oh, okay, like if I do a tag, you could paint over it with like something bigger and better. And then it goes on from like tag to throw up to straight letter to piece to, if there's, I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff that goes along with it,
All right, I could dig that.
But I guess those are some of the examples of the rules or the commandments,
Yeah, for sure.
Coming from Miami, man, there's one thing that I noticed because I kind of grew up in both Jersey, like right outside New York City, and also in Miami, Florida. And there was this clear differentiation of like what I saw in the graffiti out here in New York versus in Miami. And it's basically the use of characters and the use of a more like using the characters as a tag rather than just like out here you just see like a bunch of names, right? Like I grew up seeing like PK and Kid everywhere and like all these different tags, and out there it was all about like you saw the Atomic Orange, and then there's like other artists like A-Hole Sniffs Glue, his eyes, and the flamingos that are all over the place, and Z Florist with their flowers. And is that where you would say like is that for you, is that still considered graffiti, or is that where Miami's kind of blending the lines between what you would consider street art and graffiti?
Well, I think that all the artists from Miami that you've mentioned are doing street art, but they do it. It's A-Hole doesn't necessarily bomb his character much. He's done it a few times, but like he does a lot of stickering. The other artists that you mentioned, they definitely approach their street art with a graffiti delivery. Now, to compare like the graffiti scenes in New York and Miami, it's not much of a contrast because it's still East Coast. A lot of people, such as my family, moved from New York to Miami in the late 70s. And there was a lot of people, moving down here and vice versa. So I don't say that the graffiti style is different in Miami and New York. I would say that when you get to like the further you go, the difference is more noticeable. Like you go to the West Coast, or you go to Europe or Asia, or you get what I'm saying? Like those, I would say those are big differences right there. The styles and South America, I wanted to throw in there the difference in like style and I don't know what else, delivery or whatever, how you would word it, but there's a lot of differences when you travel. You see certain styles for certain regions, and you can almost tell, like, okay, like this guy, where he's from just by what style he's doing. A lot of the world kind of duplicates the New York City graffiti style because that's where it started, and also the street art for that matter with like Keith Haring and whoever else. There's a lot of stuff that started in New York that people copy all around the world, and graffiti is just one of them. You have a plethora of other subcultures or cultures that were born in New York City and spread throughout the world. So,
yeah, no doubt. Day, you got a question?
No, I mean, I'm curious. Like, you described going around the world and kind of like observing the different types of style of graffiti, whether it's New York or around the world in Europe and stuff like that. Your website even mentions some locations that you've been to, including things like Chile, Peru, Colombia, Brazil. You know, we were curious about, like, is there a place besides Miami? Because obviously, you know, you described yourself as 100% Miami. But is there a place besides Miami that you feel like you really found something, or like was really inspiring, maybe, or was like just a memorable experience, something like that?
Well, I didn't leave the country until 2008 or 2009. Before that, I only traveled within the U.S. and Puerto Rico, and I definitely felt the connection when I went to New York and to Puerto Rico. Like growing up, I felt the connection because that's where my family's from, right? When I traveled to the West Coast, I got very, very inspired and motivated because there's a much different feeling and style over there. Everywhere I go, I draw inspiration and I get charged off of it. You know, traveling really fuels my artist drive for sure.
Dude, yeah. And you've definitely been places, man. Actually, the first time we ever connected was when I saw one of your pieces out in Havana, like outside of what's that place called? La Bodeguita del Medio. And yeah, I saw one of your pieces. I was like, what? Like, Miami's in town, man. And yeah, that's how we connected on Instagram. So that's cool. Do you have any, like...
Yeah, Cuba's graffiti style, sorry to cut you off, but
no,
Cuba's graffiti style it's incredible because they're very limited to the materials that they have. And I've seen this a lot of places in South America as well. The supplies are limited, so they create work that looks like they're using a spray can, but they're actually using like other materials to just like, you know, not copy, but just make it look as if it was done with a spray can, you know. But what were you gonna say?
No, that's beautiful, man. Like, being in Cuba and stuff and seeing people running like their cars with like boat motors and shit, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. That's awesome that they're also putting that in for their art. I was gonna ask you, is with all the places that you've already traveled to, is there like a dream place that you still haven't been to that you want to paint in?
I want to go to Russia. I want to go to Eastern Europe. I've been to Eastern Europe. I want to go to Montreal. Like a big like bucket list location for me, and this is kind of crazy, is Antarctica because I've been to all the other remaining continents but Antarctica, and I don't know. There has to be like somewhat of a scene there, whether it's just like a sticker I don't even think there's an airport over there. I mean, maybe there is, but I think to get to Antarctica, you have to take like a ship or a boat or a ferry or some sort of like method of travel on the water. There has to be something there, but I wouldn't say that I have like a favorite. Yeah, I don't have like a favorite place that I've been or a place that's like really sticks out in my mind. I feel like, you know, just going to all the big continents and the popular cities kind of like fulfills my wish to travel around the world, but there's so many cities in between. I would like to travel more in Japan because I've been there 3 times and only stayed in Tokyo, so I'd like to hit, you know, Hiroshima and Osaka and Kyoto, and there's a bunch of other cities as well, but there's like 100 cities that I will go to at the drop of a dime, you know.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Don't we all want to travel more?
Well, during your travel, I'm curious, man, have you seen a lot of I feel like the attitude toward graffiti, especially in America, has changed throughout the last couple of decades, probably, right? Like, I think some places it's still vilified, but we've seen places like Winewood in Miami and stuff like that. So I'm curious on like what are the different ways that society is reacting to graffiti art or street art around the world?
It's different, you know. Some places encourage it, and no one's really like bothered if you're there painting on the street. Other places you could get thrown in jail for like, you know, 21 days without even seeing a judge, just because you were, you know, writing your name with a marker or tagging with a spray can. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? You know, I think there's the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to graffiti and street art. if you go the proper avenue and get commissioned or you get permission to paint a certain spot, then that's cool. But if you're going out there and you're you know breaking the law and risking your freedom, then it could backfire on you, or it could actually work in your benefit. It depends where you are and if you get away with it, or if you're commissioned to do it, then it's all good. But it's weird. Certain places have like an arts district with all these like large scale murals and beautiful pieces, and they frown upon graffiti. So it's weird how certain cities work, but it's almost like you have to take the good with the bad and expect like both of them. If you're in a major city, other places you can curate it and have an arts district and have all these like beautiful murals and not have a graffiti problem. But if you're in a major city, then I think you're gonna get someone out there painting and doing graffiti, tagging their name or putting up a sticker or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like designated chaos. Like you could only be a rebel like right here. Do you have like a crazy like a bombing story? Like I know some places are more dangerous to do it than others. Is there any kind of stories that you have?
No, I mean I've gotten into problems in other countries painting, and it's usually pretty much the same thing. You just deal with the situation at hand, unless you're like really doing so. If you're just like writing your name on the street or doing like a graffiti on the street, it's not that big of a deal. You just paint over it, or they're going to give you a fine or whatever. You might sit in jail for a couple nights, but it's going to be pretty chill in my experience. Now, in other places, it's not so chill. Like I mentioned the whole sitting in jail for 21 days. If you get caught doing graffiti in Japan, or if you have like a nickel bag of weed or something that's like very minor, it doesn't matter what it is. If it goes against like their rules, then you're going to sit in jail for a while before you see a judge, just to like, I don't know, I guess that has an effect, instead of like being in and out real quick and it doesn't really have a lasting impression on you. They make you really like sit and think about it for 3 weeks before you actually see the judge. And hey, they might, lock you up for longer. But as far as like stories, it's, I don't know. Both times I went to Cuba, I got caught, and my friend was able to talk us out of it. He was just like, oh no, like we're not like talking against the government or doing any like political driven message or whatever. It's just an art form. These people are coming from the States, and you're able to talk your way out of it, depending on what you're writing or whatever. But in other cities, I actually like got into a situation with my friend from Cuba that moved out of the island, and we were in Germany, and they don't play out there. Like he tried to run the same game on the cops out there, and they weren't having it. Like they just, they go by the book out there. There's no like talking your way out of it or whatever. A lot of times you could just pay them off, depending if you're in a city where there's like, the lines are blurred and you got some crooked cops that are just out there trying to get some loot or whatever. You can pay them off. I've paid off, police in other countries just to get out of whatever problem we were in. I don't know. Not like there's not one story that sticks out in my mind from getting caught or getting in trouble. It's usually pretty much the same thing. It's a bummer all around,
Yeah, it can be a good time.
Cops are out here like Notorious Biggie. Give me the loot. Give me the loot. You talked about like you don't necessarily have a crazy story, but what about like a particular piece? Maybe like what is a memorable piece? Maybe your first one or something that really stuck with you for a while, besides the character, maybe, or even including the character.
I've painted, like there's a water tower. I painted a water tower in Chicago, and that was a pretty memorable experience because that's the Windy City. You climb, and it's cold, and it's like damp, and I don't know. It was crazy doing that water tower. I like climbed up maybe like 4 stories or something to get to the top of this water tower, and like you get up there, it's like an old, rickety, rusted, structure, and start to think like, damn, is this really worth it? And then you do the spraying, and I completed my piece, and it lasted for years, and it actually came down with the structure. They knocked it down because it was old. It was part of an old building, or it was just an old water tower, or whatever. So they knocked it down and demolished it, and my work came down with it.
Damn. To the very end.
That was cool. I don't think I've done I did a water tower in Detroit, but that wasn't as risky or crazy. That one sticks out to me. That water tower in Chicago was gnarly.
Yeah, that sounds insane, man. That sounds crazy. Is it for you? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that to get to the base of this, to get to the ladder of the water tower, I had to climb up, 1 story, climb over a fence, climb up some stuff, and then I was finally at the base of the ladder. Then halfway up or whatever, I had to like stop and catch my breath and regain my strength because, I'm 200 plus pounds carrying a bag of like 24 cans of spray paint, and it's just like, it's madness, it's pretty like high up there to get up there. So you question like, oh, is this like really worth it? Water tower or highway sign or a rooftop or any of these crazy spots, you start to like, your life flashes in front of your eyes, and it's like, damn, is this worth it?
Yo, yeah, of course. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like the feeling that you get after you achieve it. Because of such a challenge to get to that, the feeling must be that much bigger for you, right?
Fact.
Yeah. So we're talking about like, how a lot of places, they look down on graffiti and in a weird way, in the fact that they really have their designated areas for it, and they like the art form, but maybe not the process to get to the art form. How do you feel about the commercialization of graffiti?
I do it all, to be honest. I don't mind taking corporate jobs or commercial work, because I'm out there still doing my thing, still, painting and putting my freedom on the line, or painting without permission or whatever it is. It's still like expression, self-expression for me. If you're doing your thing and it's in a graffiti regard, then, that's cool. Just make sure that you're still like keeping it real, so to speak. There's a lot of people out there that are faking the funk and like acting, as if they're like doing illegal work or keeping it like street or raw, rugged, rough, or whatever you want to call it. And they're just like, they're pretty much raking it in, imitating someone else's hard work or whatever you might want to call it. In street art, that's like, it's all blurred with the street art. It's weird. Street artists, it's mainly like commission work and studio work and art shows and whatnot. I mean, there are some pretty hardcore street artists out there that go to high spots and put their work in crazy places and risk their freedom. But I would say the majority of the street artists out there play it by the book and keep it cool and don't really break the law with their art. But I don't mind taking commercial jobs or corporate events or whatever it might be, because I know that I'm still doing my thing. I don't, I put in my work and been doing it for, X amount of years, and I don't mind taking in projects and things that, I earned or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it's like, you're staying authentic to who you are as an artist, but, you're putting food on the table with your art, and that's, what more can you ask for as an artist?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I bring that up because it's like, I feel that, I feel like I've seen the graffiti culture, as an outside perspective of just seeing like things just get really like valuable and people making some serious money, and especially like like Keith Haring, for example, like pretty recently, like I've been seeing his art on a bunch of like designer clotheslines or whatever, and just going for crazy amounts of money. And um it's really interesting, that shift of something that, not that long ago was, the police were super on top of, and they still are, but in this regard they're celebrated. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, a lot of corporations will use art and not pay for it, and then have to, you know, go into a battle, a legal battle with lawyers or whatever. I've had a situation where my work was used. I've had several situations where my work has been used, and 9 times out of 10, the company like isn't really a large company, so you're not going to waste the time and money to go after them. But I didn't hit like a big payday, but if it's a larger corporation that uses your work without permission, then you can get some sort of payout for it. If they want to settle out of court and pay you what you're asking and not have to go through the whole mission of it. That's another flip side of working with commercial gigs or working with corporate entities or whatever. A lot of times they don't think that the art on the street is worth anything, or don't think that the artist should be compensated. Or I've heard, this artist didn't get permission to paint this piece, and why should we have to pay for it if it's like a crime? So it's weird. I've heard both sides of the story, where it's like a good thing and a bad thing. Like there's Banksy, right? I've heard Banksy can't like really go after people for bootlegging his work because no one knows who he is. So how are you going to have someone like represent you in court or go and like, you get what I'm saying? If you can't put your real name on the line or your identity on the line, then who's to say you can go against this company or go after this company for using your image if you're like, no one knows who you are,
Yeah.
So whatever. It's a double-edged sword. You have to really like pick your battles, I guess. If you're doing it to a certain extent and people are using your work and bootlegging it, then cool. You're getting more notoriety or more fame, or people are seeing your work, but they could also be making a boatload of money off of it, and you're just sitting there not reaping the benefits from that specific, piece or whatever.
We were, in preparation for this, we were looking at your Instagram and stuff, and I noticed that you work in a variety of mediums. Obviously you got the wall, which is like the classic, but you were even doing up dollar bills. You were doing Air Forces and stuff like that. I even saw some USPS mail packaging. So I'm curious on like, what's your favorite medium that you've tagged up or whatever?
I would say that it's painting trains. I love to paint trains. They travel around, mostly freight trains. I've done some subway trains or commuter trains. Those are pretty risky and you get painted over quickly. But the freight trains, they tend to last and travel around the states, and sometimes they dip into Mexico or end up in Canada. So I like painting freight trains. They get weathered, and you got rust and all sorts of different like stamps and lettering or numbers or whatever, reflectors that the railways put on the cars after you paint it, or someone will go and paint over it, but you still might see some of it or whatever. So I enjoy painting trains. Of course there's painting walls. That's cool. I guess box trucks are cool. I have this one box truck that has been riding around Miami for years, and people always photograph it because it goes to South Beach all the time, and it's cool to see the different places that it ends up and the different photographs or whatever. I like doing rooftops. Rooftops are cool. They don't always have to be like concrete or metal or wood or whatever the surface is. Painting on glass is fun. I like painting on glass, but I usually only paint on glass if the property is like vacant or abandoned. It's kind of like a raw thing to paint on. I haven't painted an airplane. It would be cool to paint an airplane. Boats are cool.
Sick.
I painted a boat once or twice, and that's fun. But yeah, I like painting on trains. Painting freight trains is fun. There's a lot of different models of freight trains as well, so you have a variety of different surfaces.
We gotta have all of Miami Bay just filled with boats with Atomic are on it.
Oh yeah. Dude, I messaged you the other day on New Year's that like they had posted up, they were showcasing Miami for whatever reason, and they had your art up on it, and I've seen it in a bunch of different things. Like, how does it feel to be such a, like, I guess, a frequent image of what, Miami in general kind of looks like to the outside world?
It's great, that was a great spot to come off in. I think it was on all the major networks, prime time or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely, a lot of people hit me up about that. That was cool. Another one was the World Cup. I think it was the World Cup did something here in Wynwood, and they had like a commercial, or I don't know, also the recent like a Democratic something or other party, I don't know, function. They had like a reggaeton singer like rapping or singing. Like, it pops up all over the place, and it's cool. It's definitely cool when they reach out to you and you get paid for something that like you already painted, and it's bringing in more loot and more eyes on your work. It's being broadcasted worldwide. It's a great feeling. It really is cool to see that happen. I didn't watch that particular thing, but people, as soon as it airs, you got people texting and DMing and calling and sending in like images of what they just saw. It's pretty cool to see how that ends up turning out if it, comes across a lot of eyes.
Yeah, and it's great, man. I hope you feel the love from the city, man. Like, growing up there, seeing your art, it was like, it's very, because of the character, what it is, and because it comes from the old Orange Bowl logo, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to mention. I started talking about that specific New Year's Eve thing, but I wanted to mention that my character already had a history in Miami before I started painting it. Obi is very synonymous with the city of Miami. There was two versions of him that were like graphic logos and that were used, but there's probably hundreds of different versions of Obi before I even started to paint it and to use it as my own. That character is deeply rooted in this city. So, and so was the Orange Bowl for that matter. So we're talking about the mascot, my character, but like when you think about all the different events, sporting events or concerts or whatever it might be that happened in the Orange Bowl, or whether it was just hanging out, or there was a lot of history with that place where my character comes from. So if you were there and you remembered that place, then it has, a spot in your memory or in your heart or whatever it might be. So, it was never like my intention to like make a career off of this one character. It was just something that was organic that I painted to memorialize the Orange Bowl. But, it has its history here in Miami and South Florida. So the people that know, it's like a, if you know type of vibe,
Yeah, no doubt. No, it's appreciated, man. Like, I saw that they I don't know what brewery it is, but didn't somebody make a beer and they like the
Yes.
coating of the beer is Obi?
Yeah, I've done a couple of beer collaborations, and this one was cool. The most recent one that I did was with Lincoln's Beard, but they also have like two other breweries that are owned by the same group of people. I think it's Strange Beast in West Kendall, and then there's Maxwell Bros in Palmetto Bay. Then you have, Lincoln's Beard. I think they brewed it there in Bird Road and the Palmetto. But yeah, I worked with them before. I've worked with Jay Wakefield. They did a sour, I think it was like a sour apple or something. And then I did one with Civil Society. I think they're in Broward somewhere. They might be like in Boca, or I don't know where they're located. Somewhere in Broward or Palm Beach. There was another collaboration with a beer company that's Duvel out of Belgium that I did. They didn't brew a specific like batch for me, but we did a little activation for Art Basel like 3 or 4 years ago where we did like a glass and some shirts and a live painting or whatever. So that was a cool event. But yeah, working with breweries is fun. They're usually like really easygoing and want to, let you do whatever it is that you're known for. And, the last one was really cool though. Just, it was so simple. The other ones that I've done like weren't as, I don't think they were as effective or whatever. The packaging that I sent, the graphic for Lincoln's Beard was just very simple and straightforward, and it got a really good response.
That's awesome. Would you call yourself a connoisseur of beer?
I love drinking beer. I actually have like chilled out because I like drinking beer a little bit too much to where I drink a lot in one night and get like kind of like faded or whatever. So I don't say that I'm like a craft beer connoisseur or beer connoisseur. I just like drinking, I like getting drunk. It runs like in my blood, so it's weird. That's a whole different topic, but that's definitely a double-edged sword as well. It's like, it's good to drink a brew or two, but then when it becomes like a problem, then it's not so cool anymore,
Definitely.
So yeah, like we talked about how you got to collaborate with, beer companies and stuff like that. But we were also curious about like collaborations with other artists or maybe other types of like, maybe not beer, maybe food or something. I don't know. Is there any other type of collaboration that you've done outside of beer and like, or with other artists? Like, what are your favorite collaborations that you've done in the past?
Well, working with other artists is always fun. When you do graffiti, usually you're painting with a group of people. Whether it's one or three or a dozen people, you're usually, painting with other people. So doing graffiti, you learn how to collaborate with other artists. I've painted with a lot of different artists, hundreds of different artists, and it's always fun. I can't say that like it's never fun to like collaborate with someone. Now, when you work with a company, I've had a lot of t-shirt, a lot of streetwear brands. It's fun to collaborate with brands that like your art and want to, cross promote or blend the two different styles or whatever. I've had a bunch of collaborations, mostly in the fashion regard. I can't think of like many other ones outside of just like painting with another artist or doing like a streetwear or like a fashion type of vibe. It's cool to collaborate with anyone really, like whether it's music or photography or video or a sculpting artist. I don't know, a sculptor or whatever. It's cool to work with other people. I enjoy it a lot because it takes you out of your comfort zone, especially if you're like working on an image that's my image. Then it's cool because I only really do like a few different varieties of my character. But when you work with someone else and they create the character in their rendition or their style, it's fun to see that happen. But it's pretty much similar when you're painting with other artists and you do your thing. I'm kind of on repeat, copy and paste mode where I do the same thing on like the identity and the advertising or like just repetition. But I would say that the most interesting collaborations I've had thus far is with artists that are sculptors that recreate my character. That's some of the coolest collaborative work I've done.
Nice. Would you were saying that you're at a kind of copy and paste kind of moment with your art, considering the fact that it's so iconic at this point. Is there like, I don't know, any sort of vision that you have of like evolving your character or your style?
Yeah, I'm always adding different things to it, or I always want to add different accessories or different I don't know, settings or locations for it. I do want to try other methods or other like materials or other styles. I'm always down to keep evolving, but at the same time, I do come from a graffiti background where it's just you put up your name over and over and over again, you know, and whether you change the style or the colors or the placement or whatever it is, it's always that one thing. So you learn to do advertising or identity or whatever it is that comes along with just like repeating an image. That carried over big time into my character. As far as like, I don't know, I do want to try to use other mediums. I've said that I want to do sculptures and try to do, you know, build my character in 3 dimension, but it's difficult, you know, or, you know, there's 100 different styles or methods that I could do the character, but I don't know. One person told me to just let people do their thing and you do your thing and you can collaborate, but like, you know, if you do something good and the wheel isn't broken, then don't try to fix it type of vibe, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. There's always room to learn though, right? Like on the side and figure out how to I don't know, scratch that itch of I don't know, of learning and evolving.
And I mean that could also be more of a statement towards like, because we work in the game industry, and it's a type of thing where like you have to stick with it in whatever discipline of game development you're within. So to keep up with the masses, to make sure you're always marketable, kind of a deal. You know, you talked a lot about how your like some of your inspiration for your artwork and street art in general comes from a sense of identity and stuff like that. I'm curious on like besides street art, besides Miami, is there anything else you can kind of point toward and be like, yeah, that was definitely also an inspiration for me?
Just, I mean, I would say traveling. Like I mentioned it before, the more I travel and the more people I meet and different cultures I see and experience, that fuels my motivation and it inspires me to keep creating and try new things. So, I would say traveling is a big part of my life. Also, you know, now that I have a family, that's another thing. My children, my wife and my children inspire me in a specific regard. You know, I'm now like looking at things from like a different viewpoint. It's pretty much traveling and my family that inspire me these days.
That's beautiful, man. What would you feel? Because I've seen you know, you post about your kids a lot, and you definitely seem like the family man. How has becoming a father and kind of, you know, like growing up into that, how has that changed the way that you approach your art?
I used to paint a lot. I used to paint like every day or every other day. I would constantly be producing work, and you basically have to like drop everything. You know, if you want to be a like part of your child's life, you have to like really be there. You know, a lot of people will hire help or whatever it is, you know, a nanny or put them in school right away or whatever, but like that's not the situation with my wife and I. We're hands on, you know, we've never like hired anyone to help. So it takes a lot of time and effort and dedication to bring another, you know, life into this world and actually raise them. So it's taken a big toll on my productivity. I can't like produce as much anymore. I can't travel as much or for as long of a period of time. There's definitely sacrifices that come along with the whole fatherhood like approach or the whole fatherhood responsibility. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. You know, all the art and everything that I've created is like, it's almost like a joke when it comes to looking into your like, you know, your child's eyes and seeing like, damn, like I actually like created this life, and it's an amazing feeling. I really have like learned a lot, and I learn every day. They're teaching me so much. So it inspires me in some respects, and then it just like some things words can't describe. You have like a different look on life after you bring someone else into this world and actually raise them. So it's a beautiful thing. I really love my children, my wife and children, and being a father. It's very rewarding for sure.
That's beautiful, man. Have they curious, have they gotten that art bug from you? Like have you seen them like doing art themselves, or just kind of like has that what you're passionate about, has that rubbed off on them?
I think so. I mean, I see it in them for sure. They haven't started school yet, so I'm sure once they like get into school and have friends and different classes and whatnot, they will get into their own like groove or their own like interests. But I see it. That's all they really know. I mean, they've traveled, so they see all sorts of stuff. But they do see me painting a lot and see me drawing and doing my thing. So it has, I could see the impression it leaves on them, or the inspiration that they get from me doing my art. They're very creative and very smart. It's really cool to see the differences between my son and my daughter and their qualities and their interests or their talents or whatever. And I believe that they're inspired from my art for sure.
Since we're video game developers, we had a couple curiosity questions for ourselves. Do you play video games at all, man? Is that a thing you participate in?
I used to, like growing up when they first came out. I was into like Mario Kart or Mario World, Legend of Zelda, Duck Hunt, things on that gaming platform. But it's that's like prehistoric at this point. People always ask me, oh, do you like, are you into this? Are you into that? And I really live my art. That's what I focus on 100%. I can't really like get into other things. I live like in my art world and my family like bubble. I don't really do much outside of that. So for me, everything revolves around my art. So I'm not into gaming much. I love it, the graphics, to see like what is happening now compared to what I played like when Nintendo first came out or Sega Genesis first came out. It's amazing how people are able to game now. But I'm not really into it, but I could totally see like the orange being a game one day.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that's already happened, right? With Mark Echo, with Getting Up, and then they've like incorporated graffiti into like Grand Theft Auto or whatever other 100 video games that it pops up in. So, I like gaming. I think it's a very cool activity, but I'm not personally into it,
Yeah, no doubt. If whenever me and Daya get started on our own stuff, we'll hit you up.
We'll get the orange in somewhere. I mean, and it's cool of you to call out, because I think that things like Mark Echo, and there's a few other games that I like think are more representative of what graffiti and street art culture is kind of like things like Jet Set Radio and stuff like that. And you also named like GTA had a few missions where you do a lot of street art. So yeah, we were like, it's nice to hear that, like, because I think both me and Emilio kind of agree that like street art maybe hasn't gotten a fair shake yet from the gaming community, and so it's nice to hear that like you've seen some of that representation and think it's getting there or something,
For sure.
Yeah. I was wondering, do you have any advice for aspiring graffiti artists that are maybe listening to this episode and are inspired by their work and kind of want to do something of their own?
Just practice. Practice to me makes perfect, and I believe that that if you practice at anything, you're going to get good at it. If you dedicate yourself to it. Just practice makes perfect, and don't give up. If you stick together, not stick together, but if you stick to it and stay dedicated to something, the chances are that you'll get good at it over time. So, it goes for everything in the world. It's not just like art or sports or dancing or whatever it is, cooking or anything. It applies to everything in this world. If you just practice and keep going and don't give up, then the chances are you'll get good at it.
We have a segment of our show that we do at the end of every episode. It's dope shit to check out. It's kind of our spot to whatever's been inspiring us at that moment. Any sort of thing that doesn't have to be related to what the episode is, but just something that you found something that was really inspiring and you want other people to check it out that maybe doesn't have as much of a spotlight on it, or just want to call it out. Is there anything recently that's been inspiring you?
No, not really. I can't say that like I've had much inspiration lately aside from just painting and doing my thing in the streets. I do have a trip planned. We booked travel to go to Hawaii in April for my 40th birthday. We had went in 2016 for our honeymoon. So if I could just like recommend Hawaii, go to check out Oahu and check out Maui or travel anywhere in the world, just get out of your town, get out of your country and see what the world has to offer. Travel is definitely a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, man. And as someone from Miami, like, man, I feel like a lot of people, they've never gone anywhere outside of like Disney World, bro. And it's like, it's good to hear some people from out there. Yeah, man.
I mean, it's funny because we both talk about travel a lot, but like I think it's Ramblations first to actually recommend an actual location. So we commend you for that, Adam. Thanks, man.
You got it, for sure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Before we cut the line and everything, before we cut you loose, man, is there anything you want to plug? Maybe your website, your Instagram, anything, bro? Just this is your chance to do it, bro.
Yeah, just follow me on Instagram. I'm there under Atomik with a K, and I'm hooked on that platform. If you want to see what I'm doing, that's the best way to check me out or to support my work or contact me. Just check out the IG page. It's Atomik with a K.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Really appreciate you having you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for being here.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Take it
You too,
easy,
man.
man.